Welcome, viewers, to the Inventor Studio Workshop. My name is Michael Lobsinger with Archemy Design. Archemy Design is a design company helping inventors, makers, and the like move their ideas forward. If you want to learn more about what we do, visit our website at archemy.design. So something different today, we're going to be working through an example of mapping your business landscape. This is the first step that we recommend before building your business plan or pitch. As you begin to embark on this new venture, there are three types of entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs that you would consider you to be. You're going to be risk tolerant, jumping in, light on your feet, kind of pivot as you go type of person. I would say this is the type of person who you would see, hey, I'm a free climber. I'm just going to climb this cliff face. Other is risk averse. You're taking it slow. Little progress. You feel a little overwhelmed with what to do next. So I would say that this is someone that might feel a little lost, is on the path by themselves, just kind of trekking along a trail. And then there's a balance of risk tolerance and risk adversity. Being nimble by understanding your goals, your assumptions, and any potential actions you may need to take in advance. So I kind of say that this is a person that maybe is planning and practicing and getting a little help along the way, doing a little bouldering before they start to actually climb a cliff face by themselves. The goal of this exercise is to help you start down path 3. We want you to be comfortable being part of path 3. So, before embarking on creating a business landscape map, you really should have a few things preliminarily have been identified. Who do you think your customer is? What the solution is, product or service, what you'll be offering, what benefit does it offer, or problem does it solve, and have an idea how you'll actually make money, the business model. You don't have to have a definite answer to all of these, as a business landscape map is a tool that will help you answer some of these questions, as well as be ever evolving for your team to use as your business model further develops. So who is this for? It's for startups. If you are a new business that is entering into a new market for the first time, this is a great approach to start exploring what that business is going to look like. I had mentioned earlier, entrepreneurs. It's for existing companies. If your business is considering entering a new market with a new service or product, you can use this tool with your team to help look at what this landscape looks like. What we hope for you to gain from this video is a fun and simple skill for you to quickly map out and understand the landscape of your business and where it will operate. I guarantee you, your first run through will enlighten your team and will help you quickly visualize gaps in your early assumptions, as well as build out a map that you'll be able to better develop your business plan and communicate your business to others more easily. I recommend that you initially watch this video and then use it as a guide to do your own map. A little tough to do it interactively over video. But if you are going to do this map on your own afterwards, some of the items that you'll need to complete a map are some different colors, thin point markers, red, green, blue, black, purple, orange. The colors don't really matter, but green and red might be good colors to pick, as you'll see in the example. A whiteboard, or at least 2 or 3 large post-it wall pads that you can stick up on the wall. You want to make sure you capture this, and maybe even the post-its might be better so it doesn't happen to get erased. 2 to 4 different color 3-inch by 5-inch or 3-inch by 3-inch Post-it notes, whatever your preference is. But you want to be able to stick these up on the whiteboard or up on the wall as well. You don't have to be creative and a doodler, like in my example. It can be quick and dirty just by writing things on notepad, on Post-it notes. But if you want to have a little fun and you have a little artistic capability, you can do crude doodles like I have. Once you've completed the map, though, I do recommend keeping it updated and handy. The beautiful thing about a map like this is as you make assumptions and test those assumptions or learn new things, you can quickly update it. But maybe convert it also to like a Visio file or a mind map or some other online tool that does mapping. So then you can even share this. You'll be able to share it with the team and easily update it and edit it. So yeah. So during these workshops, we do try and align the topic with areas of the business model canvas. If you're unfamiliar with the business model canvas, I suggest that you check out this book by Alex Osterwalder. There's a link also below in the description. This is a very, very common tool that's used amongst lean startups, methodology, I-Core programs, things like that. And along with that, a lot of other good tools like from Strategizer. So by mapping out what you currently know or assume in your business, you'll learn aspects of your customers, your channels, your revenues and your costs, and key resources and partners. The more you understand how your business fits into this landscape, the better you'll be able to assess the value of what you're offering and make informed decisions on changes and pivots to your business model. The example that I'm going to use in this workshop is fictional, though it does use some information that was obtained from actual research data. In various workshops that I will be sharing and doing, I carry the same story and the same case all the way through them. So that way, if you watch all the videos when they come out, they'll be connected. So with that, we are going to get started. I'll be sharing my screen and going through the presentation and talking through these things. As always, definitely read the description of the video below for more information. Leave questions and comments. I'm happy to answer any questions that I can through those, and have fun. So mapping your business landscape. The image that you see here is, and I talked about this, is we like to tie this discussion with the business model canvas, because a lot of the things that you do when you're mapping out a landscape, you're answering some of the questions within this canvas. So the canvas is made up of these areas of key activities, key partnerships, value proposition, customer relationships, customers, revenue, channels, key resources, and costs. We're not going to go into details on what all those are. The book is a really good reference guide to explain those things and give exercises on those things. But in this case, when we're looking at a canvas in particular, it's going to help you kind of answer some of those questions of your customers. What channels, how do you reach that customer and through what channel? Where are you making revenues? Where are your costs? What key partnerships or relationships should you have? So you're going to be making some assumptions as we go through this, and then you want to identify those assumptions as things that you need to check, you need to verify. So this is why this is a really good tool to start with right off the bat. And I highly, highly recommend that you do it with a team. If you have your own business and you don't have a big team, bring in some friends and family, bring in some other small business owners, and kind of talk through the process and the idea of your business. All right, so the first thing that you want to start out with, and this is the first thing you do when building your map, is who am I? So in this case, we are I'm in the example, I'm Apex Bikes. And the assumption I'm building off here, and, uh, just kind of added some things to make this map build out, is this company has access to a technology, a metallurgical or a metal formulation for aluminum that it wants to use uh, in bikes, in particular mountain bikes. This company is going to make complete bikes and have its own brand name and also sell spare parts. So the first thing that you want to do for your map is put down a post-it or do a little caricature like this and say, this is who I am. This is my company. It doesn't have to have the right name, whatever, but just something that's going to say, this is who you are. And then next to that, or on that post-it note, you're going to write down what is your product or service that you are offering. So that's where we're going to start. This is you. The next thing that you need to do is somewhere off to the right or to the left, I think mine was to the right, of your company, you're going to put customer. And you're going to say, and you're going to write who your customer is. I don't really specify who it is here, but I'll tell you. And then, with the customer, you want to kind of write down things that are, what's important about this customer. Is you're going to have a strong value proposition for this customer. What benefits and features are you offering that's going to be of value to them to spend their money on your product or service? What is the customer profile? Start thinking about, who does this person look like? What's their age? What's their demographic? What's their reason for buying? Are they a decision maker? It just depends on who your customer is, and then really understanding, like, what's the type of relationship you're going to need to have with that customer to get their attention. So in my case, my customer are mountain bikers, and I have kind of an idea of what their age range is. It's male and female, what income level maybe they have, and I know they have an interest in mountain biking. That's where I'm going to start. I also know through some research that most consumers are going to go to bike shops to buy their bikes. Now, it's a little outdated with the internet and COVID. More and more people are buying online. See a lot of people selling electric bikes online. But in general, people want to test drive and kind of ride and get a feel for the bike. And they might order it online, but they want to get their hands on it. So I know that my channel is going to be bike shops. And they are selling complete bikes. They're selling services. They're just selling service and OEM parts. So this is someone I want to have really good relationships with. So maybe off to the right, where I have my customer, I also above that have, my other channel that they're going to go through. So in my case, it's small bike shops, and this is Bike Works is the name of the bike shop. I also know that some of these bike companies or the bigger chains of people that sell bikes may work through a distributor. I may not work through a distributor initially. I may go direct to some of the smaller bike companies, but I know that as I grow, I may need to go through a distributor who is also going to carry complete bikes and spare parts, OEM parts. So I may have another step challenge in there, and that's just something I need to learn as I'm exploring this market. And the one thing to point out about channels too, so the more channels you have, then you're going to lose a little bit of margin as you go through these channels, and we'll talk about that a little later. So I mentioned earlier that I had access to intellectual property or technology that's not mine. It is actually a unique aerospace alloy that was developed by a research university who is, doing this with the Department of Defense and aerospace industry and the car industry. And I said, I want to use that alloy in another industry. And I have secured the rights to license that intellectual property. Now, you may not have that. You may not have that actual relationship or that technology. You might have your own technology, and you can just take this part off the table. It's your own unique idea. But in this case, I just wanted to show that there may be an external relationship you have when it comes to the actual technology that you're using. I also, because of what I'm doing, and I want to make sure that I design this bike to the right specifications and the materials are made in the right way, I may have some testing and engineering to do. I may have some certifications to get, maybe some additional market research to do. So I may also have some relationships with third parties. I don't know if I'm going to need anything that's going to be CE approved or Underwriter Laboratory approved, or needs to have an ASTM test done to it. I know I'm throwing out a lot of acronyms, but just keep in mind that you may have some regulatory things you need to do that you're going to have to work with a third party to get those verifications in order for you to be in the market. You also have to form your business, and you might have patents and intellectual property. Like, I not only have a patent that I'm licensing, but I may have my own patents that I apply for. I may have to have certain certifications as a business. Maybe I need to be ISO 9001. Again, another thing that we're not going to go into. But I need a corporate lawyer. So there's legal and government relationships that you're going to need to have as well. So I think it's important here on all of these is that you have any kind of relationship or thing that you think you need from a third party when it comes to testing, engineering, certification, market research, marketing, maybe patents, certifications, corporate law, working with any research partners. Put a post-it note and write down who they are, who you think they are, or if you're missing somebody that you would need to have. So now that we've explored aspects of some relationships that we have, who our customers, what that channel is, we're going to have to build something to get our product to them or get our service to them. Maybe you're doing software and you need to hire out for people to do programming. In my case, I'm maybe just going to do some assembly of product, but I'm going to need to get components from people. In the case of the alloy, I'm going to need a foundry to make that. So all these things you need to consider in your supply chain. What can you do in-house, and what can you do by hiring somebody? So here I did a little caricature of Stuff Inc. Stuff Inc. is going to provide, and there's going to be many Stuff Incs., not just one. I'm just using one as a representation as my entire supply chain. And you're going to want to understand things like, what are their capabilities? What are their payment terms? Are they willing to work with you as an early stage company, or for a company that maybe has a low volume initially? In this case, you can see I have a green wind tower and solar cells on here. Maybe you want them to be a net zero or a green net carbon supplier, and that's a goal of yours as a company. So kind of identify some of those things, like, what is it? Who do we need to do certain things that we can't? What types of companies are they? So you can have this as a placeholder, but within Post-its, start posting up the types of things that you're going to need. So like, these are the assets and the resources we may have to go out and outsource. They will obviously be providing those parts to us, and then we will then be passing and adding value and getting those to our customers. So we can't do anything without freight and logistics. And you're going to see that in here. Freight and logistics is everywhere, and it's actually a big component of costs. They may not be your most significant cost sometimes, but it's everywhere. So structuring your business in a way that if you do have freight and logistics, if you can make that shorter distances and making it more regional it may benefit you, because in some cases, going way overseas and purchasing and doing work, unless you're at really high volumes and doing in container fulls, um, in your early beginning of your market, it might be just best to work with domestic and regional suppliers, so you can keep those freight costs down, even though your product costs might be a little higher. So I'm going to have freight and logistics of things being shipped to me. I'm going to have freight and logistics for things going to distributors or going to the small bike shops. I'm also going to have freight and logistics that I have to pay for from my vendors. So it is everywhere, and it is money coming out of your pocket. So one other partner we should talk about, obviously, is money. And depending on the type of business you have, you're going to get money from bank loans. You're going to get money from investors. You're going to get money from possibly grants. You're going to get money from friends and family, or it's going to be your own personal money and sweat equity going into the business. But you're going to have some sort of relationship with individuals or organizations that are giving you or managing money. So you're going to have a relationship there. And it's a two-way relationship, obviously. A lot of these relationships, you'll see this double arrow because they are two-way relationships, almost every one of them. It's very important that you know that you need to manage those relationships. Finally, one other thing to think about is marketing. And where marketing really comes in too is once you start to understand your customer, and then there's this thing called customer relationship. How do you get that customer? Then how do you maintain that customer over time? And how do you grow that customer? How do you get them to buy more from you? And it's going to be different for everybody. Guerrilla marketing, website, pay-per-click ads. There's all kinds of things you can do. You're going to go to shows and conferences and interact with your customer and things like that. In my case, just because it was fun, I'm doing a mountain bike. And so I know I need to do advertising. I need testimonials. I need to go to events and trade shows. I need to go and I need to do sponsorships. And in this case, I'm a very famous mountain biker who races. And we're going to use that person to be a promoter of ours and pay them to be a promoter. So that might be something that's in the cards for you. And even if it isn't early on, if you had somebody on your team that you could really be a promoter of what you do and an advocate for what you do, who is it? Write it down and stick it up on your board. Stick up a few names on your board, and then maybe have a discussion later on, like how do you get to them. All right, so having this kind of plan, and it's kind of related to a go-to-market plan, and talking it through is really important because it affects everybody with pretty much in your value chain. Your customers, you have to reach them. You have to get their interest. There might be someone that they follow, and so having these things in place, that if you do have someone promoting your product, or you're out there and they're looking at certain magazines, or they're going to certain shows, whatever, then they see your product. Bikeworks, or your distributor, or both, they are looking for you to push traffic to their stores or push sales through your product to get turnover. They are not going to sell your product for you. That's a whole other category of having sales reps or things like that, or your own internal sales team. So keep in mind that why this is important is that if you do get a big contract with a distributor or a chain bicycle shop, or whatever industry you're in, they are not necessarily going to market your product for you. You would still have to do that on your own. Your bank is also interested in this plan because they want to know that if we're going to lend you money, or your investors, if we're going to lend you money, what is your plan? How are you going to reach your customer? Show us how you're going to do that. So kind of knowing that this is a very important key component of when developing your plan is how do you reach your customer? And is there a product market fit? So in all those things, we talked about a little bit about value proposition. We talked about key partners and key resources also. A little bit about costs, a little bit about revenue. We haven't got there yet. That's kind of next. We've talked some about channels. We've talked about the customer and customer relationship. So all those aspects are coming out just from putting these things up on a wall and having a discussion about them. So let's look at the map as a whole. Now that you got to see what we're all put here, you can see where we put our business right at the middle. Down below here to the bottom, I guess, is where I had stuck it, where the customer is. And then, you can see where the bike works is and where the distributor is. Now, it's important to note, too, that I kind of have three customers. I have the actual customers who have the product. They're the users, the actual end user. But then I'm convincing or trying to sell my bike to them through a bike shop. So I have to convince the bike shop that they should carry my product. And then from there, if there's a distribution relationship, there's kind of another layer. So there's often several customers within your value chain just to get to the end user. So you have to keep that in mind, because selling to each one of those is a little bit different than you don't sell to all of them the exact same way. So just keep that in mind. That's why I kind of picked this case, because it can get very, very complicated. You can see where my marketing guy is. You can see I have freight and logistics on both sides of my business. I have my partners across the top, my bank down below, and then my suppliers off to the other side. So obviously there's a lot of relationships here, from getting my supplies shipped to me to do some assembly. I have to, and in the meantime, I have to continue to do testing and development. I have to deal with my intellectual property and that I'm licensing and the stuff that I have. I have to go to the bank. I got to keep money someplace. I got to write checks. I have investors giving me money. Everything's going great, right? It's really that easy. Everything's going great. And then as I'm putting product out through all these channels and making sure I'm delivering it to them in the fashion and time that they expect, I am promoting the product and being out there and active in the industry. So these are all the things that are there for me to play in this landscape. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And you are not going to be able to do all of it all at once and build a team immediately to do it. You kind of have to start like, where do I need to be right now that's most important? And that will help guide you in the process of just building out your business. But you generally need to have an idea about the entire business so you can really communicate with your team and your investors and other people about the business model. So let's talk a little bit about money. So we'll do the fun one first, is where is there opportunity to make money? Well, so we can bring in money from bank loans and investors and grants. That's one way to do it. You're going to get some money that way. Some of it you'll have to pay back, but it is one way to get cash flow. We can make money from the distributor, because we would sell to the distributor and get a portion, and then they would sell through the channel. We could sell money by just selling directly. We could get money from selling direct to bike works or bike shops and get a little bit bigger part of the margin. Or we could actually sell directly to our customer and get all the margin. You really need to test those cases and find out what the industry prefers, or where their early opportunity is. A lot of times the early opportunity is to sell direct, and then you move over to maybe selling to smaller bike shops or a smaller part of your channel. And then if you want a broader audience and get a bigger part of the market, you may go through distributors. So those are areas where cash inflow. Another place where you could technically maybe have cash inflow is that if you end up licensing, or you have the right, let's say you have the rights to license this alloy to another organization that's in the same industry, in the biking industry, or if there's another bike manufacturer that just wants you to build frames for them, there might be ways to do intellectual property and licensing through that. So I don't show that on here, but those are unique models when you do those things. All right. The next thing is where do we spend money? Unfortunately, you spend money everywhere. You spend money with your suppliers. You spend money with the third-party providers. You spend money with the government and corporate lawyers and things of that nature. You spend money, obviously, you're licensing patents from a university, so you have to pay them. There's your operations costs that you have as your business. Those will be a significant part of your costs. So really understanding those. We'll talk about that a little bit. You're going to have to pay for your marketing and promotion that you have to do. And I don't put it in here either, but you may give kickbacks to your actual distributors or my distributors or bike shops. So you kind of want to just put a note down where money is gonna cost you. And if you want, I had everything have all the same number of dollar signs. You could say what you think is going to be high or low, and maybe use $1 sign, $2 sign, $3 sign. However you feel would be necessary. But really get an understanding, and then you might want to prioritize where are you going to be investing or spending that money first. And in my case, it's probably going to be with working with research and development on the actual bike frame, doing some testing and certification work, and looking to raise some funds. So, all right, so we're going to dive deeper in a little bit about how this relates to the business model canvas. So let's take some takeaways here on value proposition, customers, key partners, revenues, and costs. I think these are some key takeaways, and many more that you can at least take away from doing an exercise like this. So value proposition and customer. So at this point, now that you kind of understand, who they are, you've kind of picked who they are, you need to start building a value proposition. What are the features and what are the benefits that add value to the customer such that they are willing to choose or buy your product over an alternative? That alternative could be buying nothing. But obviously, in my case, there's other bike brands out there. Why would they buy mine? And I have to understand that target market enough why they would choose mine over someone else's and maybe pay a premium for it. And you need to test that value proposition amongst that target. You need to interview them. You need to go observe them. You need to talk to them. You need to maybe do surveys. Like, there's all kinds of things you can do to learn about your customer and start even building a profile around what they look like. What are the various customers you need to talk to? And you saw in my case, it's not just the mountain biker. It's going to be the bike shops that I have to sell through. And, right at this point, I'm not really looking at distributors, but I have to keep that in mind that it might happen. And what does that relationship look like? How does my customer purchase? With this kind of purchase, will they just do a credit card online? Do they want to go see the product? Do they take their time in the decision? Are they looking at other products? So how do I kind of keep myself and my message in front of them? What is it that do they truly value? And is there a product market fit? So am I offering something that, one, fits the market that's there and it's the right market, but sees value in that market and is willing to make the purchase for that extra value? Key partnerships. This is one of the greatest things with this tool is it starts identifying all the different partners and relationships that you need to have. All I can really say here is network at relevant events, find out who's playing in the industry, find out who is helping other bike companies manufacture If you're going to go overseas for some of the work, what manufacturers are doing work in that space. Realize that a competitor could also become a partner. There might be an opportunity to, do a co-venture together or work together on something because you may be an acquisition target for them in the future. Leverage all of your landscape connections to find out where there's resources to help you. So everything from your banks to your legal support to your third parties, all these individual organizations are connected and know people and probably could help. Work with your local regional economic development organizations, chambers of commerce. Engage in an incubator program or a small business development center or something just to help you with this. And I'll tell you, if you go into an incubator program or a small business development center and you've done this, you've gone a long way in helping them help you. Other things is, and I mentioned this kind of earlier, who are those notable experts or notable figureheads and those experts within certain fields, in certain technical areas or market knowledge areas that you think you should have as an advisor on your team. Start asking around, trying to build out what you think that should be. So revenue model. So the nice thing about doing the landscape is you can look at where can I add value and generate revenue. This case, not so much as others, especially software, because if you're in the business of, having a software solution where you're dealing with a lot of data, and that data all of a sudden can be valuable to other parts of the value chain or even other markets, there's potential to grow additional revenue. So having a landscape out there kind of opens your eyes to those potentials. Channel structure, which you can clearly see when you're in this, as you're looking at your end user, you start to understand whether you can sell direct. Is it one step? Is it two step? How do you get to that customer? Who are the different buyers that you need to be talking to? But it really gives a good picture for that. And then you can start making assumptions on margins, because each one of those steps is going to require a certain part of margin that you're going to have to give up. And can you still have a viable business if you give up 20, 30, 40, 50, 60% ultimately until you get anything? So it's a great tool to kind of see what that landscape is like. And also, and I mentioned this a little bit before, and we're not going to go into details of what all these things mean in this presentation, but business to business, business to customer. Is it a multi revenue business? Are you cost plus or value driven? I highly recommend you try to build a value driven business. That way, that you have landed on a good value proposition and your customer is willing to pay a premium for what you're selling, and on the value of what you offer. If it's a cost plus, you're really going to be fighting to squeeze down margins, getting the lowest cost from your vendors, and it's a high mark to reach without being able to hit high volumes right away. So we talked a little bit again about where we're spending money and where we're making money, and it isn't going to be a part of this video, but I'll be doing a video later on financials, and this will kind of give a teaser for that. But you kind of need to start making assumptions about all these things, and how do you do that? So costs, again, as with the landscape, we kind of know where all the costs are at a high level. But a big one that we don't talk a lot about in this is the cost of just operating your business. But it's at least a start to where are you going to incur costs? What elements are assumptions or are verified for your costs? In a lot of cases, all of this stuff is assumptions, but you need to start making them and then verifying them. Don't forget to include your operational costs, personnel, salaries, benefits, facility, rent, mortgage, utilities, those things, plant and equipment. any materials there? Are there any other indirect costs like office supplies, insurance, legal? You're going to spend interest and taxes on things. So to really do this, you need to start building a detailed income statement. This is just a quick look at kind of a spreadsheet that I've used in the past. I have this in both 5-year and 5 by year, and then also by month. Once I do the other video, I'll make these available for people. And it's just the top part is where revenue is coming from. This bottom one is all the expenses. So with that, we just completed talking about how the mapping or business landscape relates to the business model canvas. We've completed our map, and hopefully it's up on the wall. It has Post-it notes everywhere, and you can start working on putting this digitally on something. But now you can really use this as a tool to continue to evolve this map, shuffle things around, get rid of things, think about how you might pivot the company or maybe pivot your products, and use it as a tool, because once you start to solidify it a little bit, that's when you can start to actually write the business plan. All right, so we've completed this map. It's got it on the wall, and you're just like, whoa, there's so much there. What do we do? Don't let that intimidate you. The purpose of this map really is to, one, help you solidify your business model so you can communicate it effectively and really start clearing out some of those assumptions that you're making so you can really come up with a good business model. The next thing is you're really going to want to work on understanding your customer and developing that product or that service to meet the value or need that they have. So a lot of these other things will fall into place as you're working on your business, but really just use this as kind of a guidebook to developing your business plan, but also helping you strategically pick where should we be focusing our energy. What do I really need? I don't necessarily need that marketing guru right now, or I don't need that person who can really get me into a certain company to sell my product, because I'm not even there yet. But where I am at is testing my value proposition with my customer. So maybe I'm going to spend my attention there. So, with any kind of product development, whether it's physical product or software product or service, you're going to spend money in developing and prototyping out those solutions. Take your time, don't rush, get help for sure. That's what my company does, is it helps. So I'm going to be doing some other videos in the future. One that'll come up is going to be estimating your market size. The other one is going to be around estimating financials. So be looking for those. If they are out already, they will be at the end of this video. Definitely read through the comments again for any other resources. And look forward to having you see later videos, and good luck.